Good day there viewers, and welcome to my channel. My name is Cliff. I'm a gem cutter from Australia, and in today's video we'll be talking about the gemstone scratch test. So this video is aimed primarily at the recreational gem cutter, people like myself who facet for a hobby, not for those people who are commercial gem cutters. If you're a commercial gem cutter, you're usually faceting gems that are of high-end gem rough quality, and those gems once faceted are usually sold at fairly exorbitant prices compared to the type of gems that recreational faceters like I and many other people facet just for a hobby. And the type of gems we buy are usually the selection as you see below, which will be quartz and synthetic gems, topaz. Sometimes we might be able to afford a bit of zircon or cheap sapphire, but in general most of us will be faceting gems that we can afford. So when we buy these gems, sometimes we don't know how to identify them, so for the purpose of this video we're going to be learning about the scratch test. I thought I would start the scratch test with these two preformed synthetic man-made gems. On my left, the square rectangular gem is cubic zirconia, and on my right we have a piece of synthetic man-made white sapphire. Because I preformed these gems quite a while ago, I couldn't remember whether they were both synthetic sapphire or not. So let's do a test on it. So let's have a close-up of the scratch test of synthetic sapphire on cubic zirconia. Synthetic sapphire has a Mohs hardness of 9 out of 10, and cubic zirconia has a Mohs hardness of about 8.5. So that would suggest that sapphire has to scratch cubic zirconia, and that's what it's done. Let's do it the other way around. So for the benefit of this video, I'm going to put a fair bit of effort into trying to scratch the synthetic sapphire with the cubic zirconia. So cubic zirconia is leaving plenty of chalky residue on the surface of the synthetic man-made sapphire, but it's clearly just rubbing off, leaving no scratching. If we have a close-up look at the surface of the synthetic sapphire, clearly the cubic zirconia has not scratched it on this side, and when we go over to the other side, that's the surface that I didn't try to scratch. There's no scratching on that either. So definitely synthetic sapphire is a lot harder than the cubic zirconia. Just a little bit of advice, man-made sapphire is usually a lot more expensive than cubic zirconia, so be careful that you don't get sold a pup. So now we're going to do a scratch test with topaz on quartz. Topaz has a hardness of 8 out of 10 on the Mohs scale, so it should scratch quartz, which has a Mohs hardness of about 7 on the Mohs scale. Let's have a look at the surface of the quartz, and as you can see, the topaz has clearly scratched the surface of the quartz crystal. So clearly topaz is harder than quartz, but conversely quartz should not scratch topaz. So let's test out this theory, and we're going to try to scratch the piece of topaz with the quartz crystal, and I'm going to go pretty hard at it. So there is plenty of chalky residue left over from the quartz, but it hasn't scratched the surface of the topaz. So let's have a look at the surface of the topaz up close, and as you can see there are no surface scratches created by the quartz, so this really validates that this is a piece of topaz, as it is harder than quartz. Here we have a quartz crystal that I bought, and it's been tumbled and polished in a tumbler, and all the sides are nicely polished. However, there is the odd unscrupulous person that likes to sell polished tumbled quartz as topaz, usually on eBay, only to hide the identifying features. If you have a look at this piece of quartz, there are some identifying features which I'll show you later, but once it gets tumbled and it's sold as topaz, a lot of the features are hard to detect. Anyway, let's do a scratch test on the piece of quartz using another piece of quartz and see what happens. So scratching quartz on quartz does nothing. Let's try topaz on quartz. So I'm going to scratch the surface area of the polished quartz and we'll see what happens. On closer inspection, you can obviously see that the topaz has clearly scratched the polished surface of the quartz crystal. The easiest way to tell whether you've got a quartz or topaz crystal is that on quartz the striations will always run horizontally on the flat face of the crystal, and you can see that here. There's a horizontal striation. On topaz they will run vertically on the flat face of the crystal. So last but not least, I'm going to do a scratch test on a piece of man-made quartz, which is the green piece on my left, and I'm going to scratch it with a piece of natural quartz, which was the tumbled piece on my right hand side. And I'm going to apply a fair bit of pressure and see what happens. So we have a close-up look, and as you can see, the natural quartz has clearly scratched the surface of the man-made quartz. And I thought it would, because when I've faceted man-made quartz, it usually is a bit more chippier, so it chips out easier when you're trying to cut it on your faceting machine. Yet it's not the same as glass. And if it was glass, if I was to run my finger on the edge of this piece of man-made quartz, it would probably cut through my skin. So it's a different type of material than glass. So I hope this video helps some people when it comes to identifying certain types of gems by using the scratch test method. Also, if you have citrine, smoky quartz or amethyst, they are all part of the quartz family. They have the same hardness and they will scratch just like clear quartz. So before I sign off, I should mention that I've recently created an online web store. It's called GemQuest, and on that site I sell some of my faceted gems that you see on YouTube, and I also sell gem rough material. So I'll be selling that to people in Australia and overseas. So I'll leave a link in the description area, and until next time everybody, take care. I'll see you later.